Hey, Annie.
Hey, Claire.
Why did the Dark Sith Lord not want to fight?
Why?
Because he was a Sithy. This week on Geek IV, science fiction. Welcome to Geek IV, your mainline solution to all your nerd culture needs straight into your bloodstream. You'll be fit and in tip-top shape in no time. Well, for a geek. I'm your spirit guide, Claire McRae. This week on Geek IV Sci-Fi with our guest expert, Annie Malady. Thank you for coming, Annie.
Thanks for having me, Claire.
So let's open first with our up-to-date report, new and nerd-worthy, to give you the latest scoop on what's cooking. So, there's a lot of sci-fi movies coming out right now. I think that's what the biggest thing is going to be to talk about. There's going to be Star Trek III, written in part by Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
There's going to possibly be a new Terminator.
Possibly, yeah.
Jurassic World with Chris Pratt, which is probably going to be terrible, but I will see it for him.
I'll see it for the dinosaurs.
For the dinosaurs only,
yeah,
not for Chris Pratt.
She's beauty. Yeah.
But I think the biggest movie to talk about is the new Star Wars movie, Star Wars Episode 7.
Yes.
Not a lot is known about it yet, but...
The Force Awakens.
The Force Awakens, The Force Awakens. But I think I'm really excited for it. I mean, I grew up on Star Wars. Even the prequel trilogy, I still enjoyed, even if they're questionable at best, I'd say. Okay, Annie, as our resident expert for today, let's get some expert testimony. Science fiction is for, like, weirdos who don't live in reality, though, right?
No. Like, mostly because I think people read and watch and engage in science fiction without knowing they are. Then you're enjoying science fiction.
Yeah, especially because it's so, like, on the surface of what our pop culture is right now.
Pretty much.
Maybe not in other times, in other decades and everything, but there's a lot of really big-name movies that are science fiction these days. Really good social implications, I think. You look at movies like Invasions of the Body Snatchers, the original one, not the remake.
No.
We don't need to watch the remake.
Turn it off.
It's basically talking about conformity and communism and the Red Scare, which was going on at the time, and people being worried about sort of xenophobic invasions of other types of people and other thought processes that weren't American for the time. And I think it's really interesting to look back at that and be able to see sort of a snapshot of the culture at the time.
I think that's the most significant part of it, is that it's relatable for any person, and it doesn't have to be like a human being you're relating to.
I'd love to give our newly versed nerds some suggestions, Annie. Here are a few doses of great sci-fi in our next segment, Quick Shots.
Yo.
So the first thing I want to talk about is books.
Okay.
I mean, there's the classic, just the sci-fi classic on any sort of medium, is the book Dune.
Yes.
Of course. And I think also books like Ender's Game are really excellent. And
Cloud Atlas.
Cloud Atlas.
Cloud Atlas is a rough read, but a good one.
And I brought a book that's technically in a genre almost of its own. That's a subgenre of sci-fi called steampunk, which is sort of darker and mechanical type things. This is a series that's really good. The first book in it, it's by Gail Carriger. It's called Blameless. It's got a bit of romance in there too, if that's what you're looking for, and some supernatural bits. So I think it would really, if you have any sort of interest in any of those things, you'd be able to get into this one and start to explore sci-fi a bit more. And on to movies and television.
Yes.
There's, of course, what I think is the sci-fi classic, been running for ages, Doctor Who. Just got a new doctor last season. He's been very exciting. So I think anyone coming in now, you'd be able to pick up in a really good place, or you could go back a little further, see if you want to test the waters in the previous seasons.
Yeah, it's a very interesting show.
And so if you like things, if you grew up watching Star Wars, you like that sort of space opera, big epic adventures, I would highly suggest Joss Whedon's canceled too soon Firefly. It's only one season, so it won't even take you long to watch.
Nope, I've marathoned it in a day.
Oh yeah,
many times.
Many times.
This is like the standard like space western. Very, very good.
And something that you particularly might think stands up to the test of time, Star Trek. Today I brought with me Star Trek II: Wrath of Khan from 1989. So it's a little bit of the newer stuff, but that is hands down my favorite of the Star Trek movie entries.
Same.
They recently did something that's more or less a reboot of it in Star Trek Into Darkness, which had Benedict Cumberbatch play Khan for the new generation. But this is just, it's fantastic. It's got environmentalism allegories. It's got really great acting.
War allegories. One of the saddest endings.
Xenophobia. Like
Major xenophobia.
Everything you could ever want out of a sci-fi movie to sort of put in metaphor. This has.
And this is the one where if you guys like know like the jokes about Star Trek, it's like the Khan. That's
Khan. Yeah.
This is
Spock.
it.
Yeah,
so
all that stuff.
Yeah. Spock. Yeah.
All right. Well, Well, thank you. I think that'll do for our
Good.
recommendations. I
Yes.
hope you got some good stuff. Let's take our expertise and put it to a completely arbitrary test with a game we're going to call Fuzzy Ewoks. Are you ready, Annie?
No.
So here's what we're going to do. In our TARDIS today, we have a bag of marshmallows.
Oh. Good.
Generic brand.
That's
My favorite brand.
the only
So,
brand.
do you know how to play Fuzzy Bunny or Chubby Bunny, regardless?
No.
So basically, what you're going to do is you're going to take a marshmallow one at a time.
Okay.
We're going to compete against each other. You put them in your mouth and say, Fuzzy Ewok.
Okay.
Then you go, and then I go.
Can I just eat them as I go?
You can't swallow them.
All right. I'll
You
probably
gotta
choke.
just pack them in.
All right.
Don't choke. If you feel as if you might choke, we have a bag for that. And the first person who has to spit it out loses. You ready?
Okay.
All right, I'll go first. Fuzzy Ewok. Put this here.
Fuzzy Ewok.
Fuzzy Ewok.
I think this is the night that does me in.
This is how Annie dies.
Uh-huh.
We'll have it on tape though, so we can show it to your parents.
Or in court. I mean, whatever works. Fuzzy Ewok.
I'm shooting for 5. I think that's how many I'm gonna get.
Okay.
No, as I say that, I can't fit a third in my mouth.
This is gross. I feel like who's gonna...
Fuzzy Ewok.
Fuzzy Ewok.
Oh my god, I'm gonna lose to you so hard.
I have a big mouth.
Don't chew them, that's not allowed.
I'm not.
Fuzzy Ewok.
Fuzzy Ewok.
Oh god.
Fuzzy Ewok.
All right, that's all for this week. Thanks to Annie Malady for coming on our show to talk about science fiction. I will see you next week when we flood our systems with fantasy literature. I'm Claire McCrae, and this is Geek IV. May the Force be with you. Or something.